Good morning, everybody. My name is Craig Warren. I'm 71 years old. I've been married almost 53 years. Father of 9 and grandpa to a bunch. I'm sort of retired. I retired at 65 to provide full-time care for my wife, who's had some serious health issues. But lately I realized that I needed something to do to keep my mind active. So why not a podcast? I have a lot of experience. I've done a lot of things in my 50-plus years in the workforce. I definitely have a lot of opinions, so what more would I need? I should mention that I have never been a member of a political party, and I do not intend to do so. My podcasts do not come from a political place, just from a factual and common sense place. Today's podcast basically is, when did elections become big business? I've been looking at this lately, and we've had all of these redistricting things going on everywhere. And I know we had that happen here in Utah recently, and I went through a lot of that, and there's so much money involved in these things. And most of it dark money. This money's coming in from out of state, even out of country sometimes. And I'm trying to figure out, why would we want that to continue? Why do we want people meddling in our affairs in our own towns, our own district, from somewhere else that doesn't live here? I'm just saying. That's what made me think about this. We're coming up on the midterm elections later this fall, and so this is going to be one miserable summer with all of the election advertising. I'm sure of that. I hate those. I kind of turn off TV and everything else if I can. Okay, but let's start with this. Let's just examine the size of the problem as I see it. The information that I could gather this was based on the 2024 election cycle. There was approximately $16 billion spent on that election. Okay, that's a lot of money. And I know in today's world we're dealing with hundreds of billions or even trillions now. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I seen a little example in someplace. I can't even remember where I found it, but it said if a candidate spent $1 every second during their campaign, it would take them over 500 years to spend that much money. So it is a lot of money. The problem is what is that money being spent on, and where does it come from? First, I want to begin with. There was some information came out from OpenSecrets and RepresentUs. These are organizations that track some of this stuff, keep their eye on it. But there's a trend that's been going on for quite a few years now, and they've noticed it. In the U.S. House of Representatives, in federal elections for the House of Representatives, roughly 94% of the candidates who outspent their opponents won their races. In the U.S. Senate, it was not quite as high of a percentage, but it was still 82%. So basically, are our elections up for sale? Whoever can get the most money, pay the most money, gets the win. That's the way it's looking. There's a pretty good track record of that. As of late 2024, the average cost to win a House seat was roughly $2 million. But the Senate, that's closer to $20 million. That's just one candidate, right? And then we also have the incumbent shield, somewhat, because they've been in there longer, they have more contacts, they have more things going on. But the money acts as a defensive wall for career politicians, because the incumbents, those already in office, have established networks and special interest lobbyists that can raise money a lot faster than their challenger. High spending doesn't just buy votes, though. It scares away qualified challengers in a lot of cases. Because if a potential challenger sees that the incumbent already has a $5 million war chest, they often decide not to run at all because they know they can't afford to pay to play. And then, as I mentioned earlier, where does this money come from? The dark money stuff. Okay, out of that 15.9 or that $16 billion we talked about, $2 billion of it came from dark money organizations. groups like these 501c4 organizations. They take money in, but they don't have to report where it came from. And then they spend it in these races to some of these attack ads and all kinds of things. And I'm not sure we want money coming into each of our districts from some places we don't know, and why would they be wanting to mess in our elections, right? That's the way I see it. I think we need to put a stop to it somewhere. Perhaps the most powerful evidence for my take on this money out of taking them. My policy here in this whole point of this podcast is that we need to take the money out of our politics. So my plan is for a national funding process. Candidates are no longer relying on the people they actually represent, it seemed like, right? In 2012, on a House of Representatives seat, 33.8% of the money came from their own district. But in 2024 election, that was only 17.6%. So way more of their money is coming from outside their district. So if they're getting that much money elsewhere, who do they truly represent? I dare say probably you're a little way down on the list of people they represent. While the median American household net worth is stayed reasonably flat over the last few years, around $192,000. The average career politician sees their wealth grow at a rate of 14 to 25% annually. These are ones that have been there 2 terms or more than 2 terms. However, for the top 100 wealthiest members of Congress, that growth rate jumps to 114% per year. So those are the people that are serving into that 3, 4 and lifetime, been there for 30 years. My question is has any of you ever seen 114% a year increase in your net worth? Every year? I don't think so. So we got to take the money out of this somehow, because at some point, it's not about representing you and me. Okay, so as we speak here, late April, and the date on this article that I read was April 29th, but we have the Stop Insider Trading Act, or the House Resolution 7008, and that's officially moving through the Senate now. It was just introduced there last month by Senators Bill Cassidy and Pete Ricketts. While it's a softer version, right, of course, the real tough version is not going to make it through. But it bans the people from trading stocks from this day forward, new stocks. The people who have already been scamming the system, they get to keep theirs, of course. But it's a start. We got to start somewhere. I mean, you guys are aware of Nancy Pelosi and her husband and what their net worth has done over the last 30 years. I mean, it's incredible. I heard I can't remember his name, but one of the top Wall Street guys said that he outperformed the S&P 500 and every major investment firm on Wall Street over the last so many years. I mean, somebody that just from sheer luck just doesn't seem like that makes sense. So we need to stop that, and this act would be a good start. It looks to me like, though, that they're a little way too soft, because what I can see, it says the penalties of about $2,000 or 10% of the investment. I don't see anything about jail time. And so, but if you look up at this example above, the top 100 wealthiest, where their net worth's jumping 114% per year, I don't think a 10% penalty is that big a deal to them. I'm just saying. Okay, so recently also the House Ethics Committee was hearing, that was on April 21st, they had a hearing. And while it didn't solve the stock issue yet, it was a major move towards accountability for specific representatives. They were talking in this case that Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, she was done a bunch of things, scammed a lot of money out of her campaign fund and all kinds of things. I don't know if anything's going to really happen to her. They usually don't. I mean, they may get bumped out of Congress, but then it'll just go away probably. But we'll watch it and see. The next part of this problem, it comes from all these political action committees. They raised, over this last election cycle, they raised over $15.7 billion. Well, while individual candidates raised only about $5.8 billion. You see what I'm saying? I mean, the candidate raises, but then the big money comes from all these groups. That means there's a money machine out there behind the candidates, and now it's almost 3 times larger than what they raise themselves. That shift ensures that the representatives are more accountable to these political action committees and other things that fund their lifestyle and their ads and their, they're more important than the constituents. You have to understand when they donate money to these to their campaign funds, sometimes it doesn't go in direct, but it goes to pay for airfare and to travel and other things like that that are supposedly, for business purposes. I'm just saying, there's a lot of money floating around there, and I'm not sure that it's all in our best interest. I go back to, and I don't know if any of you were listening to my podcast, it was The Enemy Across the Aisle. I talked about some of how it used to be back in our country. And I still remember that James Madison, James Monroe, I think it was like 1789, they were running for one of the, the first congressional seats after the Constitution and stuff was signed. But they traveled together in the same horse and buggy, right? They'd come into a town, they'd travel, and they'd get to there, and they'd get up on the steps of the courthouse or up on a soapbox or whatever, and they would have their little debate. They were kind of on different sides of the aisle, but they could still debate and be friends. When they got done debating, they would jump back in the horse and buggy and go down to an inn somewhere where they would have dinner, and then they would, even some nights, they would even share the same room to save money. So money was not the issue there in their campaigns. It was being face-to-face with the people and debating so that people could see the difference and make their decisions. I think we need to get back to that model somehow. Not necessarily the horse and buggy, of course, but you know what I mean. Standing on the steps of the courthouse debating, or in a televised debate, so people actually get a chance to see the candidate, listen to them. The other thing I find is that this stock trading thing in the Senate, that's one thing. But there's one other thing that we have had happen for quite a few years, but in today's society we're not doing anymore. And that's these public officials were not in charge of their own finances while they were in office. They had what they call a qualified blind trust of some kind. This happened from Jimmy Carter on right through Obama. I think every president set theirs up this way. And that's that they don't have direct control. It's like you or I. We have an IRA or a 401k. We can suggest how we want that money invested as far as risk factor, right? I'm older. I want low risk and maybe some medium risk. You know what I'm saying? So they can control, but they don't have control over the exact investments, right? They get a report like we would from our 401k or from our IRA telling us how our fund did. And that takes out this part of it where that they're making decisions based on their own personal finances. And I think we need to get into something like that again. Jimmy Carter through Obama, though that was not a law they weren't required to do, but they did it. So I have to give them credit for that. Okay, so as of late April 2026, that Stop Insider Trading Act, and then there's also the Senate version, the 3854, is currently the most active piece of reform in Congress. While it currently only bans new stock purchases, it represents the first hit, if you will. And this is the way I've already talked about it being this way. That we have to stop these people from investing based on the insider information. Otherwise, they're not really looking out for us. They're looking out for their pocketbook. Okay, so as the last report I seen, the last survey, there's 70% of the public's in favor of all of this stuff, which I'm pretty sure that'll go up as we see what's going on. But Here's the issue that I have, and we need to work on this, the party power thing. We have to challenge that a little bit. They're way out of control, the amounts of money, and the amount of control that they exert over our representatives. You see what I'm saying? Parties should be a platform. Like-minded, like-minded people come up with their ideas and that should be a party platform. But it should not control our representatives and the way they do. Once they're elected, they just seem like they can direct them and badger them into doing exactly what the party wants. That should stop. I have kind of been working on what I consider a 13 or 14 step plan to kind of fix some of this stuff. I mean, what the hell do I know? I'm just an old fart and I just ramble on. But, we're going to go over that a little bit and then you can tell me what you think about it. My idea here basically is to take all of the political funding out of this. No corporate funding to candidates, any of that stuff. What we do, as we already have on our federal and a lot of states already have a voluntary space where you can donate like $3 towards political campaigns, or $1 on our state, I think it is. But why don't we increase that just a little bit as a fee that we just take out? We put that in a pool. Then that candidates have to meet a certain qualification. Then they have this money. But everybody has the same amount of money. And then we tie that with mandatory debates, and a lot of them. No more of this attack ad stuff. No more of these highly polished ads they spend a lot of money on. They need to actually come out in front of people and debate. That's a requirement. So anyway, let's go down through this 13-step plan here. Just one final thought on this part of the podcast. If we do not stop the business of politics from owning the platform, the microphone, the stage, or the advertisement, the TV, whatever, the contest of ideas will remain a luxury that only the rich can afford. You've seen the statistics from the people who won. A higher percentage of people who won are the ones who spent the most money. We need to change that. Okay, so let me give you an idea what my 13-step plan is. First of all candidates, new or incumbent, are required to have a deep dive background check from all, for all. It's the same as you would have for all federal and state elections. But this is the kind of background check that you would get for like high security jobs, like FBI or anything like that. Because let's face it, these people are going into government where they're talking about a lot of inside information stuff, and we should know that we can trust them when they get there. And the background check should be checking their character, their credit, their citizenship, their affiliations with any number of groups that might lead them, or their allegiance might be somewhere else. And that gets me to step 2. That they are required to take an oath of allegiance to the United States of America and to no other. Violations or contrary behavior are grounds for recall or worse. We want people in our house of leadership, and our representative. They have to be loyal to the United States of America, and if they're not, they have no business being there. And we have some in our U.S. leadership now in the House of Representatives, especially. They come right out and said they have no allegiance to the United States. That's unacceptable. Okay, elections at any level cannot be ran or managed by a political party, ever. Right? We should have a separate group of people that are picked and chosen to do those things and manage them. All of the poll workers have to be vetted, have to be trained. They must swear an oath to the integrity and the honesty that they bring to those elections. Right? They have to do everything they can to ensure the accuracy of, absolute highest level possible. They must be able to work nonpartisan in all regards. All ballots must be counted at double-checked by different people, and even in a different room maybe, so that there's no contact with the previous person that checked the ballot. Can be done strictly, straight up, honest. No business or corporate donations to political party ever. Party members can donate to their party up to $500 per year. But political parties should be a platform, like I said earlier, a political platform for like-minded individuals, not a powerhouse. They shouldn't run our elections. No business or corporate or special interest lobbying. These groups would be able to send briefs or to our representatives. If they have questions about legislation, they're welcome to contact them for information, but no money. Our politicians should not be getting money to take trips and do all kinds of stuff, fancy gifts, on any of that stuff. That's my way of thinking about it. Advertising. If publicly licensed TV or radio stations want political ad money, they must participate in a debate coverage system. They would be able to sell ads for the debates, just not any ads for candidates, right, that are involved. That would be totally unacceptable. Number 8 here would be there would be no party caucus in state or federal congresses. They are the people's representative. They are not to be controlled by party, like we've seen recently. I've mentioned this before in a podcast. I've seen this Hakeem Jeffries recently that was just, boy, you better be here and you better vote this way, or we are going to deplatform you, or we will redistrict you. No, that should never be allowed. They're our representatives. They're elected by us, the people. They should not be controlled by a stupid party like that. That's unacceptable. And he's not the only one that does it. It happens on both sides. It has to stop. By the way, this no party issue is already the case, I believe, in Nebraska. They've been doing this for a while, I think. So it's not unusual, and I think we should really look into that more. All votes in state or federal, House or Senate races must be in person. All right? They have to be in person, and they have to be on the record. No more of this proxy voting thing, ever, except maybe under some really extreme, verified, and approved situations. I mean, somebody could be maybe doing it by video from a hospital bed or something. I'd be okay with it, but we've had this over the last while, especially with Nancy Pelosi and some of their people. You know, it was okay. Don't show up. Just give me your authority, and I'll vote the way I want to have you vote. That's more or less the way it turned out. Not big on that. And then number 10, important mandatory business such as the budget, the Defense Department, emergency funds, all of the basic government stuff that we need to keep our government running. All right, they are to be funded, and important business, other important business, but it has to be done before any recess. You stay until the job is done. And this is a big deal to me, because we had to recently, when we're going through, the Department of Homeland Security is still shut down. And then it was shut down, and we had all kinds of issues going on with the airports and travel. And yet they wanted to go home and take a 2-week recess. That's unacceptable. If you want to go home, you better get your butt busy and get the people's business done. The same way when candidates want to leave to run for campaigns. It's only acceptable if the people's business has been done first, right? And then if you want to take a recess for a week or so to run campaigns, so be it. But you better do your job first. Okay. 11. Members of government at all levels are restricted from using information not privy to the general public for financial gain or personal gain. Sharing said information to others, friends, families, etc., for financial, political, or personal gain would be considered a serious offense and would come with serious penalties. That's the way I look at it. All levels of state and federal legislation and Senate members will be limited to no more than 2 terms. That's number 12. Because you see it from our examples earlier. It's when these people get into that 3rd term moving forward, it's when they start really raking in the money. And so at that point, I'm not sure they're really thinking about us anymore. It's all of these contacts that they've made and all of the deals they're making with other people. And I think we need to stop that. We can see that. We've done that with the presidency since the beginning. And we should do that with these other people too. All you have to do is look at some of these people like Chuck Schumer and things like that. No, he should have been gone a long time ago. Guy's an idiot, as far as I'm concerned. All state and federal political representatives and leadership, including the president, will, through a trust in which they are not a trustee or other managed financial entity, which we already talked about this stock trading thing they're trying to pass, but they will relinquish control of investments, stocks and bonds, IRAs, whatever else. They would have input as far as the risk level and some of those things, but no direct input on decisions on what they buy and what they trade. There could be other things here, but I mean, my idea here is to take the money away from big business so their influence is not controlling our elections. Take the power away from the political parties so that they do what they really should be doing, and that's just providing a platform of ideas. And take that so they don't control our representatives once they get back to Washington. I mean, if they truly are representing the people, they should have the freedom to say what they think, vote the way they want, not the way the party wants them to. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to call that good today. That's my ramblings for today. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you found it entertaining or educational or thought-provoking. Join me next time, won't you? I'm Craig Warren, and this has been the Ramblings of an Old Fart podcast. God bless you and keep you. Till next time.